Welcome back, everybody. It's been quite a couple of months since we've been here, but we are here talking the next phase of Marvel, starting with Loki Episode 1 in full spoiler discussion, because oh my god, there's a lot to discuss, lots to dissect, and I'm excited to be here talking this with you guys. I'm one of the crazy maniacs that is going to be staying up at midnight with all of you guys to watch this every single week. That way you guys also have a place to come discuss Loki, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below and let me know your overall thoughts. What was your favorite moment? What do you think the show's going? What are your theories? And god damn it, the second that devil thing, when the lady pointed up to the devil thing, I said, we're gonna get more Mephisto rumors and theories and all sorts of things like that, aren't we? And especially if you've read Agent Loki from the comics, you know that Mephisto is actually in there. I'm not even gonna try and say that Mephisto's gonna show up in here, because I really do not think he does. I'm not going with those theories until there's more concrete evidence, even more than what WandaVision had. But what I will say is that this first episode was flippin' brilliant. Now, thank you so much to Disney for sending over the first two episodes of Loki early. I'm very excited to be discussing these with you guys. And of course, again, this will only be about episode 1. Episode 2's review will come out when episode 2 comes out. But I am still staying up till midnight to watch this again, because I love this show. And absolutely right now, I can already tell if this show, again, keeps going in the same direction that it is, this will be my favorite thing they've done for TV so far. I loved WandaVision to pieces. I loved it. I was so blown away by it. It was so unique, so different. I had this Twilight Zone vibe to it. But Loki kind of continues this, opening the world in a new direction. Because once you think you already know and understand the Marvel world, the TVA, the Time Variance Authoriation, or whatever the hell they go by, come into play, and it flips everything you think you know on its back and says that's not exactly all of it, and it kind of becomes a Rubik's Cube of puzzle pieces to put together. And very much this first episode is a lot of exposition onto who the TVA is, and in general, Loki himself, and just setting up, as a pilot episode, this is very much setting up the premise of what this entire season is going to be. And on a pilot episode, it's a phenomenal one. Probably the best one out of all the Marvel shows yet, even better than WandaVision, which, again, I loved those first few episodes of WandaVision, but it did take a couple episodes to finally be, okay, I love this. I get where they're going. I get the direction they're going in. This pilot is written so wonderfully, and just seeing how it starts off right after the events of Endgame and then pouring into here, and then right when he lands, the TVA comes in and grabs him. But just a slow descent into here of being this prisoner, and I feel like in the back of Loki's head, he's like, so I was going to be a prisoner in Asgard, and I was going to be a prisoner here. It just doesn't work that way, and he just can never win. But it's very interesting to see how the TVA works, and just the little sound of the score in the background just clicks and turns, and it feels like a clock, but in the same sense, something that reminds me of a little bit of an Inception, but again, Inception score mixed with a Twilight Zone. I don't know if that was just me, but I found that to be really interesting. But what I really get to here is when he's going through the offices, when they're pouring him through, jumping him down through elevator to do each of the little things. This is an entire society that you could do a complete spin-off, or in general just a Disney Plus show in general on just the TVA itself, and I would be 100% all in for this, because I think that is some of the most intriguing stuff that we've had in Marvel in quite a while, and it makes you think back to everything else that's gone on, and they even answer certain questions in a smart, unique way to, okay, well, why didn't this happen if these people were also doing time travel stuff? And that's where we'll kind of get to in a second. But of course, he's going through there. He has to sign the thing. We saw that in the trailer, but again, that intrigue is so important and so big. It's very just engaging. And of course, then he gets to his courtroom, and they're having his trial. And one of my favorite things in there is, of course, how they are discussing it, and how he goes, I know that there are more than just those Avengers. Why aren't they a part of this? Why aren't they? And they said, well, our leaders, our people who run the whole entire timeline thing, they knew they were supposed to be there. They had to be there for a select reason. And again, maybe a cheap cop-out right there, but I like that explanation, because it makes sense that they know that this was the only way they could save the entire universe. So they had to go back in time. And again, very smart, very clever. I loved that. And just the fact is, I was not excited for the show when it was announced. It felt like something that was just going to be like, oh, okay, like Loki going to different places in the world and timelines and just seeing how fun that can be. But it really much is tying into more of the stuff. They even mentioned the multiverse at one point in here, which opens up a ton of doors Wars, because we also know, of course, that WandaVision, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange are all combined in some way, shape, or form, and they're all going into the multiverse, and of course Doctor Strange is called Multiverse of Madness, so we know Loki's probably going to have his little fingers all over that, and plus the writer of Loki also wrote Doctor Strange too. So like there's so many fascinating things that are going to come from this. But one of the big things is one of the new characters is introduced, Owen Wilson himself, who when he was cast I was like, oh, all right, Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson comes into play and he's great. We see him at that crime scene, seeing these people who died, multiple stab wounds. And of course that's where we do get the Mephisto reference or the devil reference. And he's just a very charming character. I love Owen Wilson as an actor, but he really just fits and sinks into this role of this agent. And of course, when he brings in Loki and he goes, I'll take him, they sit him down and he starts showing him his life, in a sense, some of the past of what just happened in Avengers, the original one, and of course a little bit of Thor the Dark World, which I know Thor the Dark World is referred to as the worst Thor film and probably one of the worst Marvel films in MCU. It's not totally bad. I still enjoy it, but I just never want to revisit it. There are genuinely great moments that I think we forget about, and it's everything that happens to do with the brothers' relationship and everything with the mother. And they've always played into that. They played into that in Endgame, and they're playing it into it with Loki and his relationship and how he was the reason that he got his mom killed. It is really fascinating to see how that all works. And again, of course, then he escapes, all sorts of things like that. But when he goes to threaten that guy who took the Tesseract, he opens the drawer and sees a bunch of Infinity Stones, which then my jaw just went, what? What is going on here? It gets weird. It gets crazy like that. And I just sat there like, this is going to be completely different. Who are they hunting down? What are they going to? Of course, in Loki, it just kind of starts to hit him. He avoids the agents again as they're trying to attack him. He heads back to the office and plays through the rest of his life, which then we already know what happens. We see Thor Ragnarok, his father dying. And then, of course, he sees his demise in Avengers Infinity War when Thanos at his hand kills him. That is the end of his file. That is the end of it. And for me, I feel like it's very heart-wrenching and emotional, and Tom Hiddleston just nails and destroys this role. And I think what I really came away from this pilot episode was going, this is 100%, again, Tom Hiddleston's kind of versatile thing to go about. I've always liked Loki. I've always thought he was a really cool character, but I feel like we're going to get a lot more in-depth stuff with him now, and I think that's one of the best things about Loki, is that it's going to make us look at this character in a completely different eye, especially once he comes back and has that discussion with Owen Wilson's character. And as they're sitting there discussing this, and Owen Wilson just wants to know what makes him tick. And he's pretty much just opening him. I've never wanted to do this. It's part of the illusion, which is a big thing about Loki. And you kind of really come to, yes, we already care about him because of everything we've seen, but this is the asshole Loki who tried to kill everyone on Earth and tried to take over. But he's already learning faster because of all the events that he saw that happen. And he opens up to say, I never wanted to do this. And, you know, we know that he's like that, but it really, hearing him speak about it, hearing him open up like that, honestly choked me up. And I got a little bit emotional, swelled some tears in my eyes for that point. But it was honestly something I didn't expect to happen in this show. I expected this to be more fun, charming, opening the world up. But it does all that, but it's also has a hard emotional crux to it. And now I'm really excited to see what Loki goes and where episode 2 will take us. Because again, I have it, but at the time of recording this, I didn't watch it yet. Watching it right after that I record this. But other little tidbits to kind of talk about before we get to done with this is the way that they set up the exposition here. I thought was kind of smart with the TV program, with the clock and the cartoon. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. You learn a lot about the organization pretty damn fast through there. And the last big thing is I thought we saw it from the trailer. A lot of people theorized that he was going to play D.B. Cooper, or that was going to be him. Like, it's the mystery guy. Look into it on Google. It's actually pretty interesting. And it turns out that that's what Loki was. And then, of course, he was taken back up to Asgard. I thought that was kind of clever. Again, we had the theory from the trailer. Once it came up, though, I was like, oh, they're actually doing it. Again, really awesome. I love this show so far. Episode 1 was a smash hit. Probably the best pilot episode we've had from a Marvel show yet. Again, we've only had 2 other ones, but even from then, I mean, I was just totally blown away, and I cannot wait to see where episode 2 takes us. The biggest jaw-dropping, though, is that they're hunting down another version of Loki. Which, again, I think we kind of know, if you know Loki's comic history, is that there are multiple different versions of Loki. There are many actresses that we have not seen yet in the show. So I'm assuming this might be Lady Loki, who is actually the main villain of this, or maybe another version of Loki. I know Richard E. Grant was casted in the show. I am 100% predicting that he is a Loki. But we'll see if they actually go that route. Again, I don't like to theorize too much because I'm usually wrong, but from everything I know about Loki, I feel like that's the direction they're going to go in. I think that's actually pretty fucking fascinating. But other than that, guys, that is my review for episode 1 of Loki. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below your guys' thoughts. I can't wait to hear it all the way down below in the comment section. Of course, stay tuned for next week as we jump into episode 2. It's gonna be a freaking blast. I'll catch you guys later. So, of course, until next time, stay classy.